Hi, my name's David. I'm a former head teacher, local authority advisor, and the co-creator of Nautilus. Now, Nautilus is a school leadership platform that we created ourselves after years of performing standalone lesson observations, paper-based or Google Docs or whatever they may be, monitoring, surveys, observations, drop-ins, all these things, and realizing that there had to be a better way. So the whole idea with Nautilus is that we can capture and evaluate all of the teaching and learning in school, all of the great work that we do with an iPad or tablet, which makes it much more efficient, and then we can build up a big picture too. So from speaking to schools, it's very similar. They talk about having a server scattered with standalone observations and different documents and monitoring and so on. It makes it very hard to draw upon all of those documents to be able to talk about teaching and learning, or to be able to kind of identify areas for development. So what we tend to do is then focus on the test scores, which again may not be a good fit for individual cohorts. So why don't we focus more on developing skill sets, build a bigger picture using our devices, and then use that strategically to improve teaching and learning and develop teacher skill sets with lots of really good professional dialogue taking place. And the holy grail really is to enable all leaders, so not just head teachers, but for any leaders, SENCOs, subject leaders, to leave the building feeling secure about standards in their area and well informed to be able to make those improvements, to identify the areas for development. Also a good opportunity to provide validation and recognition for our colleagues, and that's really key to job satisfaction and retention. So we're going to frame things. You'll see when I show you the platform today, you'll see we've really kind of been considerate and sensitive, but maintaining a balance of challenge and support at the same time. So if we can enable leaders to leave school feeling that way, and preferably leave school on time, then we've got confident leadership, and confidence is everything in leadership. Feeling like you've got a good grip on standards in the classroom, not just the test scores or the most recent data. So what we'll do is we'll take a little look through. You'll see there down below in the chapters, you can click around and take shortcuts to different aspects of the platform. I'm going to walk you through it, and it should take around about an hour. So here you can see it's web-based, which means it runs through your browser. It's not an app, you don't have to install it. You can just log in or out of school, and also just using Chrome, Edge, or whatever it may be. So here you can see that we've got a dashboard, so we're funneling everything into one place, centralizing all of that information and getting some data from that as well. So that's useful, but this is not really a data package, it's just one element of what it can do. So in here I can see my current year, and then I can click and see all time, and I can see different metrics, and I can use AI to interpret and learn more from this content, and we'll come back to that shortly because I want to show you the process, how to get moving, how to use the system, and then what you can do is you can learn more really about how we can best use this insight here. The terms that we use, just very quickly, it's interesting to think about how we frame this. So what you'll see, and you can edit and change this, you can even switch it off, is that we use a rubric, and that's what helps us to secure some data, because otherwise if we use a blank piece of paper, things can be inconsistent. So if we're getting distributed leadership, how can we frame that? So we use the terms prioritize, develop, effective, and highly effective. And we've been very careful really about that, because what we're looking to do is, like I said, develop those teacher skill sets. So with prioritize and develop, there's an opportunity to give a recommendation, a suggestion, provide support, collaborate, share an idea. And that's a good thing. And then with effective and highly effective, there's an opportunity to give recognition, to validate the hard work of the teacher, and that's really critical. That's what leads to job satisfaction and good retention. So we want to be able to make sure that that's an important part of the process. But like I say, you can switch those off. You don't have to use them, or you can decide them with your team, but ultimately they will give us some data. And data, like I say, is helpful for strategic purposes, because that's going to help us to be able to see subjects, cohorts, key stages, free school meals, pupil premium, expected standard, groups, whatever it may be, creating those filters on the dashboard and using that for school improvement. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the process. Over here in the users area, I'm adding users, and this is basically the place where we can add anybody to the system. So internal leaders or external leaders, it's really important that we utilize that professional, those relations that we have, that we've worked so hard on with those external partners. So we can add anybody to the system here. So just add a name and email address. That adds them as a user on the system, sends out an email, means they can log in, they can use the gallery and see the gallery, which helps them to be able to moderate their work, so they can look at samples of writing and things like that to be able to see what the expectation should look like. They can also do a learning walk if it's assigned to them, but they can't see any of the data. And I'll come back to that in a minute. So we add everybody as a user on the system, just really to be able to get moving. And if they're external, check the box too. So once we've added them, you can see here, I've got 2 or 3 Senkos, I've got 2 or 3 head teachers, all my colleagues are on, we do peer reviews, learning walks together, moderation and so on. We've got English leads, maths leads from our groups of schools as well on the system. So we can really, and also when other schools are using Nautilus, I can add my staff to theirs, they can add their staff to mine, and we can work in partnership in that way, which is a great way. We can also create and share content too. So once we've added them to the system, we can then, if we want to do, upgrade them. So this person here is a user. If I wanted to do, I could add them as a leadership user and assign them a subject as well. So here you can see I'm going to give this person art and DT. That means that they will have a dashboard that is just art and DT. They can do learning walks that are art or DT, but they can't see everything else. So it's a narrowed view, could be SEND, could be early years, but on this occasion it's subjects. So we've moved from a user and upgraded this person by assigning them subjects. We could upgrade them again to a priority user who sees everything. And that would be obviously the more executive view, and it depends on what you're accountable for, what you need to be able to see. So I'm set up on this system, by the way, as a priority user, which is why I can see everything. But we can upgrade them at any point. Once we've added them to the system, more importantly, we can get moving, and then we can play around with those and assign responsibilities as we go. So what we're going to do now, once we've added them to the system, is just head into the classroom and do a really nice light touch 10-minute sort of drop in. And this is a really interesting way to be able to work, because I'm going to just talk a little bit really about how we design things and what I learned really from my years of headship. So here, down in the bottom right-hand corner, I've moved across to the walks area. I haven't got anything assigned here in my to-do list, but down at the bottom I can just head into the classrooms, and this is great if you don't really know what the subject's going to be until you get there, because we're going to focus on teaching and learning. It's not going to be subject specific. So I'm going to select the learning snapshot, which is a nice light touch lesson visit, and I'm going to go see Casey. And then when I walk into the classroom, I can see that this is a maths lesson. I'm also going to add a tag, so this is going to be year 4. And what that does is, by creating tags, which you can create yourself, we can filter on the dashboard by maths, and then we can filter by year 4. And that's obviously a really good way to be able to kind of look at cohorts and so on as well, and to gain more insight. Now what you'll see here is it's just a very simple process, and it has to be the thing that we learned or realized was the more content we put into our lesson visit and observation, the longer we have to spend in the classroom to seek and validate that. So if you've got checklists and descriptors and things, the framework that you're using, the performer, is going to dictate that you have to be in there for a while. So what we've done is we've gone the opposite way. We're looking really at making this as concise as possible. So we could be in there longer, but we could also make this very efficient and short. And that's what makes a good lesson visit, and ultimately an efficient learning walk if we have a sequence of them. So here I'm looking at lines of inquiry and then prompts, and that's what we use rather than descriptors. So if I walk in and I look at the children and I see that they're engaged, my next question is, how does the teacher achieve that? So we're evaluating the effect of what the teacher does rather than judging competency. This is not about, is this teacher good or bad? This is about how effective are the strategies that they use. But I can see that the children are engaged here. So in here, I'm going to use the voice type and just pop in some feedback, just a couple of sentences to capture this. I really like the relationships that you have with the children. Why not put an activity on the board to settle down after playtime? So you can see here, I'm just creating a little next step. I'm saying this is really good, I like this, but try this. And that's really how we should be working when we've got access to all of that expertise, particularly in specific subject areas. You can see here that the children are engaged, and then I'm putting down just a couple of sentences, keeping it light touch. The reason why I'm using the voice type, you've got a button on your device, is that enables me to move directly from the lesson visit onto the feedback. And it's really important that the feedback is meaningful, timely, as well, because if we don't give good feedback, we undermine the whole process. From my experience, teachers become disheartened, and sitting in the staff room saying, yeah, it was a really great walk, thanks very much, is not the same as being able to kind of share feedback like this. Bearing in mind that the feedback is where we get the impact, not the process. Okay, so here I've got some feedback from my colleague. It could be an area for development. If we're teaching 9 subjects in primary, let's agree there's going to be some areas that we teach better than others. Or if you've moved from year 5 to year 1, let's agree that we've got a learning curve and we can tap into that support as well. Or if it's just career stage related. So we're putting teachers in a safe place so people are open to those conversations, and that's very important really, to break that down, and I think to be able to share that in the staff room. This is not about pay or career stage. And so it could be a priority area, there could be something we need to follow up quickly afterwards, but most of the time, most teaching is going to be good or better, because that's how it is. This is not about competency. So engagement, we've looked at the strategies in the classroom. I can see relationships are really kind of what underpins good engagement here in this class. And again, we're not using descriptors, we're not using checklists, we're not telling people how to teach a lesson. We're allowing for the fact that teachers may do things differently, and it's the impact that counts. Engagement, then we're looking at pedagogy. So here, this is good because these lines of inquiry are creating a consistent approach for all of our subject leaders. So that means that everybody who's using this learning snapshot is basically guided and looking in the same core areas, the most significant areas. So pedagogy, here we could be looking at pitch, pace, progression, planning, modelling, use of IT. There's lots of things that we could be looking at here, but rather than again having that checklist, we're just looking at the impact of those. So pedagogy, strategies and techniques for learning, and pop in there a short evaluation really to be able to kind of provide some feedback for our colleague. The learning then, we're thinking about acquisition and application of skills and knowledge. This is a really interesting one because, again, we shouldn't leave the room without knowing this, but we don't have to be in there for an hour. What we can do is look in the books, see what they did yesterday, talk to them, use a bit of AFL to ask a few questions. We could also pause it and then come back later and then grab a few books and see what the outcomes look like. We could even do that for specific groups as well. So that's a good way to make sure it's accurate, but keeping the stakes low really for the teacher, so it just feels light touch. But there's no reason why it can't be accurate at the same time. In actual fact, one thing that I should say is that this is more accurate. And again, I will be talking to the staff beforehand really, and creating a culture where these kind of short visits are a priority, because from my experience, the longer the visit, the more skewed it becomes, because it becomes a fireworks lesson and we add heat to the whole process. Once it becomes a fireworks lesson, it can become inaccurate, and then the feedback is less meaningful. So let's make sure that it's business as usual, it's typical, and the feedback is meaningful. And so keeping it light, touch and efficient is what's going to help to be able to kind of support that. So we've looked at the learning there. Then we're going to think about the value. And we use this term very specifically to avoid using progress, attainment, achievement, ARE, all those kind of things. So for example, with progress, we could say, is it good or not? And we get kind of like a pass or fail. Value is more subjective. It enables us to talk about the success or the effect of the lesson without having to say, is it good or bad? So we could reference progress in here, with our feedback, but we don't have to benchmark against that. So I think value is a good term, and that's why we chose that. The other thing about progress is it pops up in those kind of terms in the inspectorate, and it might have its own definition. And also, when we did use progress and tried that, we couldn't get the leaders out of the classroom. They felt obliged to stay for an hour. But as I've mentioned, we can pick up the books and evaluate that anyway. So we've got data. We can look at cohorts, on this occasion maths, year 4. We can look at whole school, subjects, aspects, SEND, whatever it may be. That's really useful, which is why the rubric is helping us. It's guiding us, it's creating a common language, so we've got some consistency and support for our staff. And then down here, we're putting feedback in using the voice type, which is a button on your iPad, and that just enables us to be able to provide that feedback nice and quickly so we can send that on, and I'm going to show you how we can do that too. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to take pictures. So the really good thing, and this is why we say capture, don't observe, capture, is that there is a lot of progress in the classroom, and quite often we leave the room. So when we do an observation, typically we might look at the teaching and learning and what the teacher does, but we don't really have much time to be able to acknowledge all of that progress, whether or not it's on the walls, in each book, whether or not it's yesterday's work or whether or not it's the progress from first page to last. So there's an awful lot that we could actually capture using the camera, which is why the device is so helpful. So I'm going to tag by subject, tag by year group. I'm going to tag by the area of study, and I'm also on this occasion going to tag by expected standard, just so that when this photograph goes into the gallery, we can then see this is what standards should look like in year 4, and as a leader I'm setting that expectation and spotlighting that good work. That's a good way to be able to share good practice throughout school. I could put in here some other attributes as well. The other two which you would want to consider is going to be SEND, if this is a pupil with additional needs. That means that the SENCO can use this photograph, and also we could put in here pupil premium as well, and that means our pupil premium lead can use this photograph, so we can filter by those tags, and that enables all of our leaders to be able to learn more from what's taking place in the classroom. We can also put some commentary in there just to say what we like about this piece of work. Just could be a couple of sentences, or we could moderate. We could actually put in some specific attributes that it demonstrates really from the curriculum if you wanted to. Send that to the gallery. I won't do it because it's blank and my camera's in use, but we'll take a little look at that in a moment. Now, once we've taken photographs, we then start to consider how we could use video, and the whole idea with video is obviously it's an equivalent. We talk about broad and balanced in our school, but then we focus on English and maths. So let's do justice to that whole curriculum, and this is a great way to be able to do that. The photos are as well, because obviously for things like art and DT, those are really useful to be able to demonstrate curriculum impact. But once we start to do that with the video, then we can start to consider poetry, performance, dance, music, all of those other areas in the curriculum, language as well. And what it does is it takes a 20-second clip, which we tag and then send that to the gallery so that that can set the expectation. PE is another area. You know, our schools we work hard to offer all of this PE, and yet we really find it difficult logistically to be able to present that and talk about that area of the curriculum. It's just kind of like a given. So let's really get some samples from that, and I'll show you how we could do that on the system too. But the other area where it's really great is reading, and I'll show you a sample shortly, because then we could take a 20-second clip to show what the outcome should look like in reading for each year group 2. And that's really important for staff CPD, particularly when we start to tag it with all those kind of strategies that the child might be using. Okay, we'll come back to that in a moment and take a little look at the reading. So we're going to pop that into the system, and that's really how quick and easy it is to get into the classrooms and start to build up that picture. Now, it's one visit, but it's not standalone, because that's going to our dashboard and it's contributing to a bigger picture. So it's a nice, short, light touch way of being able to get around the classrooms. The learning snapshot is also about teaching and learning. It's not subject specific, so we don't need a learning walk for English, maths, music, whatever. We can have one creates a common language for everyone, and then we can use tags then to filter by subject, and also tags to filter by year group or group or whatever it may be. So once we've done the walk and we've done the visit down here, you'll see in my completed column, so in the complete column, right there at the top, you can see that I can click to edit this one, or I can send it on to my colleague too. And if I send it, I can just pop in there the email address and then send that on to my colleague after the visit. So for Casey here, I'm going to send this one on afterwards. It would be great to be able to have the time to sit down and to really kind of work thoroughly. Obviously, if you can, great. But for most subject leaders, time is at a premium, and we just want to make sure that we can provide that validation. So the report looks like this. It's non-judgmental. They'll get that via email, and they'll get that the same day. So when they leave school, they've got that validation, and it's a great opportunity to be able to say, love this, like this, try this, and to be able to provide that feedback. And as I said before, for teacher retention, job satisfaction, recognition, that's a really key thing, because if it's overlooked, then it can be quite disheartening. So you can see here, all it's doing is dropping in my feedback using the voice type into context, so we can see as well what we're looking at, which area, and then it's got some really good content for, you know, some good suggestions, some good talking points. And again, most feedback is not about failure. It's not about teachers not being able to do something. Most feedback is only ever going to be about try this, or sharpening or reflecting on different aspects of teacher skill sets. So we can send that on to our teacher, they get that the same day, and that's really helpful. So what we've done there is we did Learning Snapshot, which was just dropping in. What if we want to create a learning walk, which is a sequence of visits? If we come to here, the create area, and I'm moving across from left to right now, we're going to create a learning walk. Just a quick one on that while we're now back on the desktop. The orange buttons are all about gathering, collecting, performing walks and so on. The blue buttons, that's the back end, so that's the data, the insight, the headlines, the AI, the gallery, the video and so on. Those are the blue buttons. We're also going to take a look at the knowledge base, which is a place where we can click and create self-evaluations from the work, the responses that we've put into the system. And then the builder, which is the big disclaimer, because you can edit all of the content that I'm showing you, and you can also create content too. And also you can share that content that you create as well. We'll finish on the settings today. Well, I'll just show you some other things that you can do, like creating your own curriculum, tech support and stuff as well. So here in the create area, you can see here, I've populated this with some walks and activities that we can do. We've got 10 different frameworks on the system, and we've got a parent survey and a pupil survey. So you can create surveys too, and those are useful. We'll take a quick look in a moment. But these other ones, we can focus on different aspects, governance, we've got behaviour, phonics, early years, SEND as well. So we'll take a quick look at some of those in a moment. So here we're going to just create a learning walk. So this one, we're going to look at English, Key Stage 2, and we're going to go with the date as well, 25th of November 25. So we're going to focus, we're going to use the Learning Snapshot, which is the one that we've just used, but obviously this time it's going to have multiple visits. We're going to select the subject area. So this one is subject specific. We could add a tag here, so we'll go with Key Stage 2. And then we can select the evaluation statements, which prioritise, develop those ones that we looked at the beginning. And if we want stars as well, which is to do with the look and feel of it. So I've created it. I now need to assign it. And this is where I could assign it to my teachers and my colleagues. So on this occasion, I will assign this one to myself, but I will also do this learning walk with James, who is my school improvement partner. So 2 people, 2 devices walking together, and this is a 1-form entry class, so year 5, year 6, year 4, year 3. So those are all of the visits, the sum total. We're going to go together and head out into the classrooms. We could go separately, and again, it's 10-minute visits average within each classroom. And as I move across to the walks, you can see that it's populated my to-do list with my 4 visits there, and also James's when he logs in, he will also see the 4 visits in his to-do list. So we could do those together. So 2 contributors, great for external validation. And also for creating one report but with multiple contributors, and we could have more than that, but that's a good use of time with your advisors and external partners. And we'll come back to that in a minute as well and take another look. We could also create in here a book study. So I'm going to just show you an equivalent one, English, Key Stage 2 again, but this time we're going to look at the expected standard, and I think that that's an interesting one to look at. So with this book study, teachers get a little bit of leadership management time. How is it used? How does it impact? Well, this is a good way to be able to maximize the use, to create a consistent approach. So I'm going to create our book study. There it is. And then I'm going to assign this to myself because I've just got a little hour to work on these English books. So I'm going to assign it to me again, Jules Verne, and then you can see, and again, the same teachers, so 5. And again, it's going to be nice and quick. We've specified that it's the expected standard rather than top, middle and bottom. Top, middle and bottom is bigger and less insightful from my experience. It's how we used to do it, but in actual fact, let's keep it short. Let's make this one with the voice type, 35 minutes. Feedback for staff via the email, create a report as well. You can see, and with the expected standard as well, it helps us to really sharpen and focus our understanding of the progression in learning. So here, one thing I want to do is to see what the expected looks like from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. I also want to take pictures of each area of the curriculum from the best samples that I see as well. So a good way to be able to, and if you are 2-form entry, it could be upper Key Stage 2, so it could be looking at 5 and 6, and that way you can be looking at the expected standard across the cohort as well, so you're looking at that consistency element as well as the progression from one year to the other. So again, on here with our book study, same kind of design, nice and simple, lines of inquiry and prompts. We're looking at the presentation, care and consideration, the pitch, pace and progression. We're looking at pupil contributions, regular and sustained application, time to secure the outcomes, progress, but relative progress, first page to last, towards the objective, over the week, if it's fractions or whatever it may be. So relative progress. And again, one thing I will say about the data that we're collecting is it's for school improvement purposes, so it's up to you, it's for your benefit. We're also going to look at the challenge and extension, and then we're going to think at the marking and feedback. And you can see here we're just evaluating the impact of that, and that's the impact of your policy rather than us saying, how you do these things. We'd look to be taking pictures here too, because obviously expected standard, I could be tagging this, English, year 6, expected standard, writing, fiction, history, send, pupil premium, fronted adverbials, whatever it may be, we could put those attributes in, take those pictures, get those into the gallery too, and we'll take a quick look at that in a minute. So that's a book study. That gives you an idea as to how to utilize that leadership management time along with the learning snapshot. I'd say that those two are kind of the leadership toolkit really for all leaders. They're infinite once you apply the filters. But we've also got some other ones on here as well. I think that the send one is a really powerful one. We've got ALN as well. Not forgetting on the system that we've got all of the 6 areas of the Welsh curriculum integrated too. So this that you can see here is a bit of a hybrid of England and Wales. But the send one just enables my Senko to get back into the classroom, to support and advise, and to be able to enable that journey of the child from entry to exit. When teachers will have each child for 1 year, the Senko can then be the person who manages to kind of facilitate that ride, that journey throughout entry to exit. So a good way to be able to get in, build capacity, develop skill sets, share best practice, and really kind of sustain the progress for children with additional needs. So looking at the setting, looking at the curriculum, and is it appropriate and engaging for those children, how it's been personalised. We're thinking about the staff support, direct or indirect, and thinking about the progress from individual starting points. And again, taking pictures, but that helps me to evaluate those 5 areas across the whole school as well, and to build up that bigger picture, as well as being able to kind of share that feedback with my colleagues too. So like I said, we've got a range of different frameworks. We can also as well do the parent and carers surveys, so a little bit sort of similar, no doubt, to the kind of thing that you do already. The best thing about this, they can do it on the phones. We can do them nice and quickly. There's no big chain of administration, and we can see the data on the dashboard as well, so we build up a bigger picture. Nothing is standalone. We can also use the AI as well to summarize those insights, which is a great way to use that. Okay, so let's move across now. We've looked at how we capture. Let's take a little look at what's coming through and how we can use these insights. And like I said before, the blue area really is where we're going to get the impact. So this is really critical. I think that this is much overlooked, and I hold my hand up as well, really, with that. So what we can see here is the lesson visits. If I just select all and then come in and do it by created date. So here you can see all my walks, and I can come into here and put in maths or governors, and it will filter and present those. So again, that's the benefit of being able to kind of centralize those things. We can also filter by subject if we want to do. So if we want to filter by English, we can see our dashboard by English and so on. So just a little bit of interpretation, I guess, really. The school average, 3.1 in my school. The whole idea with the average here is that it takes the rubric, 1 is low, 4 is high, and creates an average for us to use. So this is for school improvement purposes. It will align nicely with your self-evaluations, but it's helpful because if that's the average in my school, I can see then for each learning walk and activity what the outcomes are, and I can compare those. So at the top here you can see a book study, and it's pooling together the data from that activity, and it's saying that's 3, so that's in line with our school average. So nothing too concerning there. And it just means as I come through these, I can see the best outcomes at a glance, and I can see any areas for development as well where I might need to look closer. And it's just tipping me off using that average there to be able to benchmark. We can also see what that looks like over time, and we can see how that's broken down too. And down here we can see the different walks that we've done, learning snapshots and so on here as well. If we leave that filter on, we could move across and look at the headlines for a priority user. And this is really key. So for me as a head teacher, I can see what my skill sets look like in English. And so this is we've still got that English filter applied, and so I can see where we might need to be able to apply support. And again, for a head teacher, it's really important that you have this and you can draw upon this for school improvement purposes. And so another good example would be if we clear this and then we add send. So we've been looking at English, but if we move down and take a little look at send, for example, this is a good example because if we identify who needs support, it may just be that that's to do with the child that they've got. So they may have had a child that is previously excluded or has high needs. So that sort of is a good conversation between myself and the SENCO to be able to prioritise the support for that cohort. And again, it is the cohort, isn't it, quite often than not. So again, how we use that data and the insights coming in is up to us, and that's the big disclaimer. I think it's really important to kind of to make sure that it's clear that this is for strategic purposes, and it does work really well to be able to kind of support professional development. So going back to the dashboard, here we've also got AI. So we've got Nemo down in the bottom left corner. We can use him to be able to summarize our last 20 walks. So this is, I think, a really significant development that we added not so long ago, because it means, again, we can leverage these insights. This is not scanning the internet. This is taken from all of the summaries that we've put into the system. So we can see the things that we do well, the things that we do less well, and we can identify some quick fixes or some areas for discussion and so on. The way that it's presented is up to you. If you want to change this and create a recent summary of learning walks in Send, then it will change the focus. So again, we can look at different areas. We can also as well create a 1-paragraph supportive summary. And we can anonymize those too. So here you can see we're looking at send, strengths, areas for development, and also we can create a summary if we want to do. And this enables us, with it being a supportive summary, to tailor this for the audience. So we can share this with our staff, we can share it with our governors, our learning partners. It's good enough for a SEF. But that insight, again, it's just kind of pulling together. And I think that's a really good use of AI, rather than having drop downs and having to go year 5, English, term 1, and then get a grid and a PDF and it be the wrong one, or have to interpret that to our governors. So some great ways to be able to leverage. And again, I love the idea of being able to kind of feed that back to our staff too, so that they've got that feedback the same day. In here, we'll take a quick look at a walk that we've done. Let's have a little look and see which one. So let's look at all year, and let's look at when it was created. So in here, I should have one where I can just show you a little sample. Book study that we've done. We could take a little look at the outcomes there, and then we can drill down and learn more. And in here, we've got some very simple data because we want to action this the same day. So we can see individual visits and outcomes. We can see 2 people working together. So we've got an internal and an external partner. We can delete and add or edit. We can see the outcomes over time. So on this occasion, we can see how it looks compared to the book studies generally for all people. And then down here, as we move through the system, we can see on the right hand side there the averages in the school, again the data, and that's the big picture context, so for all book studies, and then on this occasion. So we're also always benchmarking this occasion against the big picture, and that's how it works. And then we can create again a summary from this using Nemo. And once we've created this summary and got the insights that we need, what we can do is save that and pin it, so every time we come we can just pick up that, or we can copy and paste it. So down here we can save that, and that will just add it to the bottom down here, which is a great way just to be able to kind of add those notes on the bottom. And we could do that for surveys as well, for parents and for pupils too. We can download that as a PDF, but one thing I will say about our PDFs is that they are all the same. You choose the content, but the design is uniform, and that's intentional to make it nice and simple. So as we export those PDFs, as you share them, the governors, inspectors, whoever it may be, your colleagues can pick it up and see what the outcomes look like. And they can also see as well, again, the data, no reference to teachers or lessons. So I think it's low sensitivity, which is good for being able to share and say to your staff, thanks very much, this is good, like this, try this. And again, the context, this is a learning walk, by the way. So learning snapshot, so here we're looking at engagement. And we've got a bit of simple data, so we can see here, just at a glance, that on this occasion, it's broadly in line with the school picture. On this occasion, we can see for the pedagogy, we can see that it's more effective here, slightly less effective on the highly, so we can see that that's fairly strong. We can also see for this one, that one's fairly broadly in line. This one's lower, so we can see we've got an increase there, and that one's to do with the impact, really, the value. So a good way to be able to share it, and nice and simple, and I think that's very important that you can sort of pick those up and just use those. Okay, so let's take a little look at the gallery and think about those pictures that we've been submitting. And this is a really key area, because this is about setting the expectation across school and spotlighting the best practice. So I'm sure in your school you will have samples of Year 6 writing that you want to use to be able to set the expectation. I better put writing in there because we've got a little bit of art there. And the whole idea with this one, for example, is rather than have that sort of dusty piece of writing where you had to go and find it to assess against to get some consistency or to moderate, what we can do is we put them into here and we can see those, and these have been submitted by our English leader to say this is what writing should look like in fiction, non-fiction, whatever it may be, each genre. and we can pull those up. We can also, if we want to do, look at the greater depth as well and see what the difference is between the two. And you can see down here that these have been sort of moderated, so there's quite a lot of detail that we've added down here. So it might have been an exercise where we had somebody possibly external working with us as well to do some moderation on the English books. So we can work in that way. So a great way to use the gallery to set the expectation, good to use in staff meetings, but there's so much more that it can do as well. So if, for example, I talk about maths, and when we typically monitored maths, we'd be looking at maths books. But the one thing that you start to realise when you do it this way is that maths looks very different. You know, there's so much more to maths than the work that we see in books. So here we can see the practical learning, the whiteboard learning, the outcomes for pupils with SEND. We can see some planning samples, early years, Numicon, wall displays. Maths is a lot more than what happens in the books, isn't it? So this really does justice, and I would feel very confident using this to talk about standards in maths and curricular impact in our school. So some pretty profound really opportunities to be able to demonstrate not just the curriculum that we've designed, but the impact of it in the classrooms. Once we start to kind of add those tags and start to think about SEND, so for example here, these are really interesting because these have been submitted by the maths leader but tagged SEND, so Masenko doesn't have to go and find them. Masenko can come in and key in SEND and they will see samples that the staff have submitted, the other leaders, so that they can learn more. And the same with governors. If you've got governors that have a responsibility for SEND, they can pull those up too. If we then start to think a little bit just in practical terms, I mean, we sort of laugh about this, but you know, we declutter the classrooms at the end of the school year and send everything home and start blank in September. So here we could be taking pictures of the outcomes, and then what we could be doing is sending the work home and using those to say this is what it should look like by the end of the year. So we've constantly got that source of reference and we're raising the bar. And when I worked in schools in special measures and we looked to drive quick school improvement, what we wanted to do really was to be able to kind of show the best practice to raise awareness across the staff so that they could learn and see how good things could be. So here you can see, you know, we've got our full curriculum. And also the other thing, you know, if I take a little, I'll show you a good example of how the staff can work together. So I'm putting in history here, but this one here is history, but it's been submitted by the writing lead. So it shows the application of writing in history. And I think that's a key way to work to save time and to develop and secure understanding for your staff so they can see what standards, what the writing looks like as it's applied across the curriculum. And quite often that doesn't happen. So there we go. And for, again, DT and all those different aspects, it really shows that breadth. If we start to think about looking at the videos, this once again starts to present some really great opportunities to do justice to the breadth of our curriculum. So here we could use this to share with the children. Our PE leader could capture it and they could set the expectation. My teachers can use it as well as a source of reference. It's a great way to be able to kind of demonstrate the work that we're doing and the outcomes. So this is obviously, this performance demonstrates the outcomes, possibly over 6 weeks, of a PE unit. So you get the idea how we could use that. That 20-second clip works really well, and we could build up that bank and tag those so we can use those. So when you're teaching a different unit, you can key it in, bring it up, show the children the samples, they get an idea of what the outcome should look like. As a teacher, it helps you to know as well, because your PE leader is enabling you as well to have that secure knowledge of outcomes. And that's really critical, isn't it? So that's one example. The other example that I really like is this one here, which is the reading. I mentioned about the fact that we can use these videos. I can hear this. I don't think you can, because it doesn't pick it up, but I can see fluency, hear fluency rather. I can see the strategy that the child's using, finger spaces and how they're using the finger to point. I can see CVC and phonics kind of strategies and how the child's decoding, the degree of fluency, the text level, the adult support. lots of things from that where we could put that into the system and say, this is how it should look possibly in year one on this occasion. So reading, we currently assess with paper tests. That's a really excellent way of being able to kind of broaden that, develop our staff's understanding of outcomes again, and work towards those. I think that bank that we could create there is a really profound one. That was a suggestion that came from some of our schools that we work with currently as well. Now, those have been captured sort of in different ways. You can actually just submit to the system. You don't have to do a learning walk. You can just put them in there if you want. And that's a good way really for staff to share best practice themselves. So if I said to the staff next week, I'd like you to take 3 pictures and submit those. Science, I'd like you to take a picture of the practical, one of the working books, and one maybe send. Then my science leader can come in at the end of the week, key in science, and pull up those samples and see what that learning looks like. And staff have been able to submit that. So over time, really, staff get into the habit of saying, this has been a really great lesson, I'm going to just take a sample there and submit it. And they're kind of raising the bar. Those are the ones then, as a leader, I'm able to sort of periodically just drop in and go, right, okay, music or whatever it may be, see those samples. And it's a really profound way to secure that understanding, because I think the biggest challenge as a subject leader is being able to know what the school does well and less well, so that you can make those strategic decisions and create good action plans that are going to kind of secure impact. So lots of ways to do it, but it's kind of that whole sort of knowledge here that we can build up. So great ways to be able to use the gallery to be able to set the expectation. Okay, so we're going to take a little look at the builder in a minute, where you can create your own, but I want to come across here to the knowledge base and show you this, because this is a recent development, because we were thinking really carefully, how can we use these insights to support inspection, and particularly with the new inspection framework coming out with Ofsted. It begs the question, do you change the rubric and start doing these kind of checklist learning walks, which are obviously sort of typically what we may have done in school. But we thought, actually, let's take our time. So we sat and sort of thought things through carefully, and we thought, actually, how can we use the AI here to be able to support this? So let me just show you a little bit how we've done this. So first of all, in the knowledge base, you can select your inspectorate. So I'm going to select Ofsted. You can actually create your own as well. I'll come back to that in a minute. But this now presents, you can see there that those are all the different areas of the framework, the Ofsted framework. Now, I've just clicked there to run the evaluations. And what the system is doing now for each of these areas is it's delving in, the AI is delving into the responses and the evaluations that we've done for our learning walks. And then it's classifying that content by the key theme, the area of the framework. And then what it's doing is it's using word sentiment, so good, bad, outstanding, whatever it may be, to be able to give us an evaluation. So for example here, you can see that it's just running there. I'll just wait until that one's finished. If I pop down to inclusion, it's taking this descriptor here and it's seeking content related to that, and it's picking out the key words. So wherever send and send, ALN has been used, it will pick that up. It will then pick up the key words that have been used to sort of word sentiment. And then down here, it will then provide a summary from our last 1,000 learning walks, book studies, whatever it may be. And it will also identify the things that it's plucking out that are strong, any areas and samples as well. So the good thing that I like here is it's giving quotes and it's referencing the walks that we're doing. I can click here and click into that sample so we can actually see that, and it'll signpost me to that, as well as areas for consideration. So not necessarily for development. At this stage we could take that. So we could take that and we can reanalyze it, or we can save it. And if I save that, that's a great way to be able to kind of use that moving forward. So that's a good way. Now, one thing that we would do then is, as we do our learning walks, is we would start to use the terms that we've got in the bank then, so that it can, the AI can pick up and use that. So I might do a learning walk and say, this is a very inclusive classroom, hashtag inclusion, hashtag disadvantaged. And what it will do, obviously, is we are consciously using that terminology, and then the AI is able to use that and it improves the accuracy. But a great way, because it means that we can add to those. You can add to these terms yourself. You can edit the content. So as we move forward, it sort of future-proofs the way that we work. The other thing that I really like about this process is it makes evidence the byproduct. So rather than going and saying we're going to do a learning walk because we need some evidence, in actual fact, what we're doing is we're doing our usual learning walks, typical, we're putting in our thoughts and views, and we're prioritising that feedback for our teacher, but in the background we're generating this content, which is a really good source of evidence. But it's not for evidence sake. That's not our primary purpose. The most important reason that we're doing any of this is for school improvement purposes. The byproduct is the evidence, and I really love the way that we've managed to do that. So it's interesting there, and like I say, you can select your different frameworks and you can edit and change those if you wish to do that. The other thing that I really like is that you can create a knowledge base yourself. So you could create one yourself with target 1, target 2, target 3 for your school improvement plans, put in a descriptor for what you're looking for, put in the keywords, and it will then self-evaluate your school improvement priorities. So that's a pretty cool way to do that as well, but we'll explore that more moving forward, I think. We've only just added that to the system a couple of weeks ago. So I hope you'll like that one as well. So as we move across to the builder now, now the builder is a good place to be able to kind of create your own content. All the content that we've got on the system has a padlock on, so you can see down here, we've locked everything, but you can create a clone. So if you want to create a clone of our book study because you like that one, but you want to edit it, we can create My School Book Study, create a copy of that, and then up here you can see then we can edit just that one. So the one thing that we say about the builder is that, you know, create your content sort of quite strategically. Don't go in there and create one for English, one for maths, one for music. You don't need to do that if you create them focused on teaching and learning and the impact of what the teacher does. So if you do it that way, then you can use the filters and then filter it by English, maths and everything else, but just have one framework. Good for creating that consistent language and that common language across your leaders. But in here we've got some other ones which I think are really useful. If I show you the learning support one, I think that's always a good one. And some of the schools that we're working with in Wales, it's particularly learning support snapshot. So this one we developed with support staff, focusing on those 3 lines of inquiry, which makes it really efficient, nice and simple. Myself and the head went to see 18 members of support staff in one morning. They were involved in the design, by the way, so we had a little chat with them to begin with to say what should we focus on. And then after that, what we were able to then do is then provide them with the feedback. So it's very difficult with support staff to provide timely feedback or any kind of CPD in that way because it's non-statutory and we're, you know, it's very time consuming. So that's a good way to be able to do those visits and to give that feedback via email, as I sort of shared earlier. And a good efficient way of being able to work. It pretty much covers everything there. You can see, sorry, I'll just mention again there, you've got relationships, engagement and subject knowledge. And if you said, well, I really like that, I can share it and you can import it. And I'll show you in a moment where you can download free content from Facebook that we create as well. So a good way to be able to share between schools, if you've got a MAT or a group or a federation, you can create content and create it in one school and then share it between 2 by importing and exporting that way. So we've got some good ones there, like I say, for governors, different sports premium, different areas of the curriculum as well. There you get an idea. Key questioning strategies. Those are all sort of pertinent things, aren't they, at the moment? So some good tools there. So as we move really across towards the end of the demo, just a couple of key features, and then I'll just show you how you can get more from the platform. So as I mentioned, you can edit the rubric at the beginning. You can edit your curriculum. So if you've got a specialist curriculum, you can add interventions, remove content from there as well. And our high school platform has the full range of GCSEs on there and A-levels, so you can whittle that down so that it's a good fit for you. Tech support the same day or advice, user guide. The user guide is really thorough and has lots of video content as well. The whole idea is that you can pick up the platform and it's not up to the head teacher or deputy to cascade. Your staff can pick up the guides attend the webinars, and then they can learn how to use the system without you having to cascade, so they can just pick up and get the most out of the system. The FAQ obviously is what it is, and the tutorials on YouTube. The YouTube channel's fairly kind of, you know, it's got lots of content on there. Again, some 2-minute videos, some 1-hour videos, some are just sort of like how to do things. Some are more sort of CPD based as well. The 360, you can click into here, that's our upgrade, and that enables you to be able to use all of the content, and it aligns so you can support your appraisals and professional development and use your learning walks and things like that, and you know, host that online so that it aligns with the work that you do in school, and you don't have to bookend appraisals and have those mid-year reviews. Essentially, it creates a portfolio for your colleague to upload content to, and then you can drop in and see that, click and create an AI report at the end of it, so you can reduce the admin as well. Okay, so if we finish the session, really just coming across to the website, nautilus.education, a couple of key things here. We've got a trial there if you want to just click in and have a go. I've already shown you on this video how you can add your staff and how you can get in and get moving. Book a demo, that's a good way because we can do a session like this one, but maybe to your team, and we can tailor it. We'll take a little look at your website beforehand, so we can make sure that we can show you learning walks for 1-form entry, 2-form entry, AP, special ed, high schools, whatever it may be. We can prepare it so that it's a good fit for you. We can even look at your priorities and things like that if you want to do too. And as we come down here, just a couple of sort of key things. The community is really good. We want to make sure that Nautilus is a tool, and our job is to be able to support you with that tool. So rather than, you know, this is not performers and checklist exercises. You know, it's really about supporting you with the work that you do. So if you go into the community here, you can see the content. We've got about 1,400 people on here, I think, currently, leaders, and in here you can see different content that we've uploaded, different videos, webinars and so on. So we've got a Governor's Learning Walk there. You can download those from the files section. So lots of free content on there too. We've also got, by the way, just in the files section here, the new Ofsted support pack. So that's 2 learning walks that cover the pastoral and the teaching and learning, and again help to build that picture for your knowledge base to then create that self-evaluation. So we created a couple of learning walks to do that. Other than that, when you go into the community, you'll see lots of different insights, and we're just funneling things into the same place. So in here you get an idea for all leaders to be able to kind of join and then access this, because it's really important that we help leaders to develop their skill sets as well, because it's hard for them to do that. We've also got our newsletter, which again enables them to pick up and learn more. So we add all the new developments, and we're constantly developing. So I think the knowledge base will be going into here, and again it enables all of your staff to know what you know, hints, tips, different sort of articles by different leaders, masterclasses and all kinds of things there too. And the webinars are each week. We don't tell anybody how to run a school. In each session we just show you how to use the platform. They're all free, and they come with a video recording if you're in class too. So we could be looking at SEND, we could be looking at subject leadership, headship, the executive view, or we could just be taking a little tour through the session. And so those are a great way to be able to, again, build that capacity in school without having to cascade and train your staff. As far as cost is concerned, I think this is an interesting one. I feel really comfortable about sort of sharing this, because I know how much it costs to provide staff with leadership management time. To give each teacher 1 hour of leadership management time per week costs the school about £1,200 per teacher per year, and the question is really, what do you get from that and how does it impact? So obviously I've shown you some ideas there for how you can make sure that you do get that impact, but you know, this is a great way, I think, to work efficiently, to be cost effective, and to value your time as well, to get out of the building. So here it's scaled. So you can see we've looked at the Explorer today, really, which is about capturing all of that great work that you do. And when you click and subscribe, you could also add a training session if you want to do. but we create accounts the same day, get you moving, check in, provide support if needed, and otherwise you're up and running there. So that's the Explorer, and you can see here how it's scaled. That's to do with size, and the cost is obviously to do with usage and storage as well, and also the amount of tech support. The 360 added to that is the upgrade, which incorporates the software for your collaborative appraisal tools. So if you want to take a little look at that and learn more, you can click and do that as well. So you can add that to your system if you wanted to do it at any time, and those are the costs. So we'll finish things there, because that's the session. I think we're up to an hour. I'm just looking at the clock ticking away there. Hopefully, in summary, I've just been able to kind of take you on a whistle-stop journey, so you can learn a little bit about how you can use what the Nautilus platform is, why we created it, and how we continue to create that with school leaders that we're working with now. Hopefully you can see how it prioritises efficiency and accuracy and enables you to be able to leave the school feeling secure and confident and clear about standards in the classrooms, developing those skill sets and having that base, that secure overview of standards, whether or not you're a head teacher, a SENCO or a subject leader, to draw upon to drive that improvement in your school.